I'm TheGentlemanWake, and in this episode, we take a dive into the world of Sword and Shields, the latest in a series of elaborate playing card projects from producer Kevin Yu and Card Mafia. Also, I'm actually giving away a prototype deck of the Shield playing cards, so stay tuned and I'll let you know how to enter that giveaway a little later. Plus, I announced the winner of the Tale of the Tempest prototype deck from my ongoing Kickstarter campaign. And remember, for the best in playing cards content, like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Before we get into the review at hand, I just want to remind everyone that the Tale of the Tempest Kickstarter campaign, the second TGW branded playing card deck project presented by yours truly, is still live and ongoing. We had a tremendous start to the campaign, funding in just under 4 minutes. We were pretty astonished.
That just jumped a lot. We're funded. We just got funded in 4 minutes.
You can see my reaction on a live stream recording. In fact, I'll link to that live stream recording in the description if you want to see it for yourself.
Unbelievable, guys.
It was a lot of fun. The project is now way over 600% funded, and we still have a lot of time to go. Recently, we announced some new stretch goals, including a gorgeous gold gilded gold on gold version called the Treasured Edition, and we actually have a few more surprises in store. So check out the Tale of the Tempest Kickstarter campaign by clicking the link in the description or visiting www.wake.video/Tempest. Hopefully you'll be convinced to back the project if you haven't already, and we can even reveal more stretch goals. Okay, on to the review. Kevin Yu has been producing successful playing cards projects both on and off Kickstarter for years. Some of his most successful to date were the Luna Moon, Helios Soul, and Esther Star decks, which I not only reviewed on this channel, but also managed to find a way onto my top 10 decks of 2018 video. The most impressive thing about those decks perhaps are the fantastic tuck cases that at the time featured are innovative in their design, in the playing cards world at least. They fanned out into a gorgeous display. Those Kickstarter campaigns were highly successful, and Kevin took lessons he learned from that process and extrapolated them into continued successes, also featuring the fanning tuck box design. The deck series we're looking at in this episode also utilizes that now iconic fanning tuck box. Originally launched in 2019, the Trident playing cards sold out almost immediately, which led to a second deck, the Sword playing cards, being released as a follow-up during that campaign. Both these decks were successfully fulfilled into the hands of backers in 2020, and now Kevin Yu and the Card Mafia are back with a follow-up, the Shield playing cards. The fact is, I've had a very tiring and busy month with the launch of my own Kickstarter campaign, so as a result, I wasn't able to get to the review for the Shield deck in time before it actually sold out on the Card Mafia Kickstarter campaign, just as the Trident deck had done some months before. Also, just like that campaign, Kevin Yu was quick to announce a follow-up deck, this time to the Shield deck during the current Kickstarter called the Arrow Edition. I think we're all starting to see a theme. Unfortunately, the Arrow deck didn't exist at the time I received these to review, and as such, I don't have them for previewing in this episode, but I think you'll see the consistency in the design will give you an idea of what to expect. Regardless, both campaigns in the series have been wildly successful, with the most current run raising north of $200,000 in crowdfunding. All three decks in the series seen here were limited to an edition size of 3,500 and come in gorgeous and intricate hot foil stamped, laser engraved, laser cut, hand assembled tuck cases, featuring an elaboration of the fanning mechanism seen on the previous decks produced by Kevin Yu. There are some minor differences in construction and materials from deck to deck. Aside from the obvious artistic differences, all three feature an iconographic symbol representing the namesake battle implement from each deck, framed in a three-dimensional layering of premium matte black cardstock that's been laser cut into nesting complementing shapes. Each deck has its own signature color: electric blue, orange, and purple. One of the aforementioned differences is that the sword icon and text on the blue deck is a gunmetal silver, whereas the orange and purple editions substitute it with white. The sides of the first two edition boxes feature the words "Made in the USA." The Shield does not, although the Shield deck and the Arrow deck will, according to the Kickstarter campaign, be printed by the United States Playing Card Company. More on that in a bit. The Shield version includes the word Shield Athena on the side where "Made in the USA" would go. The top of each deck includes the deck name, and the back of the boxes also feature laser-cut, hot foil stamped designs that once again accentuate the three-dimensional feel. As far as design goes, these are really cool and unique. The laser-cut paper really does give a cool 3D feel to the design, and the artwork is very reminiscent of the retro futuristic design style popular in the 1980s. And I guess all of you know how much I love the 80s, right? They definitely remind me of the graphic design behind shows made popular by the Japanese anime invasion of my childhood. Shows like Transformers, Robotech, and Voltron, especially when the decks are unfolded. Even though I've obviously seen the design implemented before, the effect really remains ultimately very cool. The boxes are tightly assembled and hold in the open position much better than the Sol and Luna decks did, allowing you to display them in a fanned out orientation. It really cements the Transformer Voltron feel. Taking the cards out of the box reveals a special premium cardstock foiled card that acts as part of the tuck case design by sealing the laser cut openings on the tuck itself. Each deck has stylistically similar but varying back designs that are reminiscent of the design of the tuck boxes themselves without actually ever mimicking or copying them directly. They remind me of the heads-up targeting displays like you'd find in a Tron vehicle or a TIE fighter. The shield design isn't as vibrant as the other previous decks, but this is more likely due with the fact that the prototype seen here is just that, a prototype, unlike the two other which are final production copies printed by the USPCC, something made obvious by the handling as well. This deck series takes some cues thematically from the well-established source of mythology that is the Greek pantheon of gods. We'll see that pop up in a few places actually. However, there are a few inconsistencies in this department, especially with regards to the first two decks in the series. Additionally, the pips get a little bit confusing. You'll see what I mean. These are completely custom decks of playing cards. The indices are unique, the pip placement is standard, although the deck chooses to replace the red pips with pips colored by each deck's corresponding color. The black pips are here made white to contrast against the black background on the cards. There is some gray line work ghosted in the background of each card as well. Speaking of the pips, although they are unique in and of themselves, they aren't unique enough from suit to suit and can be a little bit confusing. The clubs are definitely too similar to the spades to make the cards convenient for gameplay, although I don't expect that to be the intended purpose of these decks. In fact, the confusion is taken a notch further when you view the pips on the purple shield decks, which actually don't match even the ones on the sword and trident decks. Each deck brings a pair of jokers individual to itself, a Pegasus and Eagle on the Trident deck, a demon and a goat or wolf on the sword deck. The shield deck includes a pair of warriors in Greek-inspired armor, one with a spear and shield, the other testing the sharpness of his spear point. There are two included Diptych ad cards with the USPCC printed decks. When stacked together, they form a long staff weapon, one with a sword-like blade and the other clearly a trident. The sword deck is represented by Ares, god of war, and the trident by Poseidon, god of the sea. The ad cards of both regular decks refer to the gods as one of the 12 Olympians. The shield deck comes with a singular double-sided ad card, more likely as a result of prototype printing limitations than an intended change in the series. In fact, the ad card still shows both ends of the similar Diptych design. The shield deck is devoted to Athena, guardian of truth and wisdom, also another of the 12 Olympians. 12, of course, is a significant number with regards to playing cards. After all, there are historically 12 Regal Court members in each deck. To that end, it seems like Kevin Yu and company are setting us up to produce 12 decks within this series, not unlike what the Planets decks by Vanda Playing Cards did with the orbital bodies. The Sword and Trident decks share the same court cards, a collection of one-way wireframe outline figures, drawn in a straight-on illustration style reminiscent of the work of Giovanni Moroni, although admittedly not as clear or refined as Gio's work. One of the inconsistencies I mentioned before rears itself here. Rather than depict the 12 Olympians, the Sword and Trident decks make some seemingly arbitrary choices on who to represent on the court cards. Athena makes an appearance here as the Queen of Spades. King David of the Judeo-Christian Bible is the King of Spades. Historical figures Charlemagne, Caesar, and Alexander are represented for some reason, and the Trojan war hero Hector is also here. Even Lancelot from the Arthurian myth appears as the Jack of Clubs. I also find it odd that some of the courts include the value in front of the name, i.e. Jack or Queen, but then others do not. The good news is, with the benefit of hindsight, the Shield edition of the series appears to have corrected the odd choices made with the court cards, and now they are redrawn and renamed to neatly fit the 12 Olympians motif promised by the ad cards. Zeus, Hades, Demeter, Artemis, Hermes, the gang's all here. I should mention that the aces are all given some nice artistic flair in both sets. As far as handling goes, the USPCC decks, as is the usual case, handle brilliantly. Nice springs, crisp fans, and fluid flourishes. The prototype Shield deck, probably printed by MPC or another similar producer, isn't nearly as refined, but the campaign promises the final production will be handled by the United States Playing Card Company. These are unique decks, certainly not designed for gameplay or Magic per se, but very collection worthy with the iterative design choices and the simply fantastic tuck cases. The Arrow deck, a red foil edition and the fourth deck in the series, is still available via some reward tiers on the latest ongoing Card Mafia Kickstarter campaign, including some gold and red gilded editions. That campaign ends on November 20th, so if you want to get in on that, click on the link in the description below. The Shield deck is currently sold out, as I mentioned. However, I'm giving away a prototype Shield deck, brand new and sealed, to one lucky winner. Here's what you have to do to enter the giveaway. 1, like this video. 2, be a subscriber to this channel. And 3, let me know in a comment below which of the various Tale of the Tempest decks from the ongoing TGW Kickstarter is your favorite. Speaking of the Tempest, congrats to Take121 on Instagram for winning the Tempest prototype deck. Contact me via IG to claim your prize. We're actually planning some more terrific Tempest giveaways in the near future, so be on the lookout for that. Also be on the lookout for some Tempest campaign live streams, including some new reveals and special guests. Since we talked a lot about beautiful tuck cases in this episode, why don't you check out my top 10 tuck cases list of all time by clicking on the video that will appear right here. I've been the Gentleman Wake. Thank you all so much for watching. See you next time.